My yoga session spiraled out of control. He made sure that was my last lesson. Hey, people on Reddit. I am here because I had to share something, and I felt like this was the best place to vent out without being judged for my actions. Ever had that one feeling where you get so overconfident in yourself that you just put your guard down and boom, your life changes in a fraction of a second? Well, that's what happened in my case. I really was so carried away that I forgot to be careful, which led to lots of drama and actions that maybe I was not ready for. It has been probably the worst mistake of my life. My name is Betty, female 39, married to Carlos, male 47, for a decade now. Obviously, I was attracted to his money more than him, so I did not even bat an eye when he proposed to me. I jumped at the opportunity of getting married to him. I knew that with my current scenario, there was no way I wanted to slog my entire life to get to any kind of luxuries. This was like a shortcut to have a fancy life with all the pleasures I could think of. I knew that I would never ever be able to reach such riches ever, and this was my best shot at having my dream life. Little did I know that marrying for money would come with its own pros and cons. I feel like I didn't think it through and jumped the gun before I could even process what was going on. Blinded by my aspirations of becoming a rich wife, I sidelined every other reason for me to not get into this marriage and got married. The start of it was obviously great. We went on a very long honeymoon for almost 2 months. Though Carlos was busy with his meetings and setup of new business ventures, he did give me a card to shop to my heart's content. He asked me to make the most of my time while he was away by exploring the city, do the things that I would like to, and he would try to make himself available as soon as he could. Of course, I did not mind at all. I enjoyed myself in my own company. Carlos would reach out to me in the evening, and we would spend the entire evenings and nights together getting to know each other better. The next day when I woke up, he would be gone, leaving me a note that he would be a little occupied. I knew that he was obsessed with his work, and it was a turn-on for me, so I did not mind at all. I was just glad that even after having a busy day, he would still make sure to spend time with me. As soon as the honeymoon phase of our marriage was over, I started seeing less and less of Carlos. Not very soon into the marriage, I knew that it had nothing to offer to me. Carlos was always busy with his work and hardly spent any time with me. It was like we were living in 2 different time zones, even though we were living in the same house. I hardly got to see him, as he would be out for his meetings at godforsaken hours. Whenever we were alone, there would never be a conversation without being interrupted within 10 minutes by a phone call or someone wanting his advice for something. I felt lonely and unfulfilled, realizing that our relationship lacked the emotional connection that we had previously, and I craved it. Despite my efforts to communicate and spend quality time together, it seemed like we were drifting further apart each day. I felt lonely and neglected, craving a connection that seemed impossible to achieve with Carlos. I did not know what to do, so I discussed it with my sister, who suggested that maybe I should discuss having kids. It might change things a little, and having a kid might force Carlos to spend more time at home, and that way even I would get to see him around often. I thought about it and knew that maybe it was not a bad idea. I knew that it was too early to have kids, but I was willing to at least take up the conversation and see what he had to say. What if he agrees, then all my problems would be solved. I took up the conversation of having babies with Carlos, which I should have at least asked at the time of getting married. He said that he had been traumatized all his childhood and never wanted to have kids. He said he would let me know if he was ready and changed his mind. He asked me if I was not happy with our life, and I could not bring myself to let him know that I was a bit lonely when he would always be busy with his work. I did not want to break his heart, so I just said that it was just a passing thought, and there's nothing that he needed to worry about. I started feeling more like the furniture in this house. Carlos would send me clothes and everything when we had to attend any business events where he would show me off as his loving and caring wife, which I was. I sometimes felt like he was looking down on me while introducing me as a wife who never went against his will and always followed instructions without any questions asked. But behind closed doors, I felt like I was nothing more than a prop in his facade of perfection. I obviously felt good when he showed me around to his business people, which made me sure that he did not want to hide me away. I was glad that I was getting to spend some time with him, even if it was just for these events. I felt loved and included in his life, even if it was for a short period of time. I did hint to Carlos that I was feeling a little neglected. He told me that he was aware of him not being around as much as he would love to, but he promised me that things would get better once he had everything in place, and then he would be all mine. I told him that I was a little unhappy, but I could give him some time to make things automated so that I could finally have him for myself. A few months turned into years, and I was tired of having the same conversation again and again. I knew that there was no point in trying to make him know that I was feeling lonely all the time. We started having arguments as he insisted that he was doing all of this for us, but I felt like he was keeping himself busy to keep himself away from me. I don't know if I was just finding everything negative related to Carlos, or was I right about what I felt. Carlos did ask me to take a break and go on a holiday with whoever I wanted, so that I could get a break from my routine and have some fun. I decided to take this opportunity to take a break from always complaining and spend some time with people who actually wanted to spend time with me. I took a 2-week holiday with my sister and girlfriends. We had a lot of fun, and when I was back, reality hit me. I was going to be in this big house all by myself again. It was not like Carlos did not love me or did not try to make time for me. He did, but I always felt like it was not enough. It was a topic of friction between us all the time. I had nothing interesting going on in my life. My husband would always be busy with his business, always traveling and opening new stores in new cities and keeping a track of how they are doing. I found myself feeling lonely and unfulfilled, longing for something to occupy my time and bring excitement into my days. I decided to explore new hobbies and activities to fill the void left by my husband's absence. I started taking painting classes and joined a book club to meet new people and engage in stimulating conversations. These new interests not only helped me pass the time, but also brought a sense of fulfillment and purpose back into my life. Very soon I got bored of these hobbies and tried to look for other interests that would keep me occupied. I met my friends over high tea and were discussing life in general. Everyone had stories about their couple's travels and what they do together with their husbands or families. I had nothing to share and felt a pang every time when someone told how lucky they were that their husbands made time for them, even from their busy schedules. I realized that all I had was money to show off, no husband or kids to make me happy from the bottom of my heart. I craved that love and warmth that I could see in my friends' eyes when they spoke about their partners or kids. One of my friends noticed me being spaced out and suggested that I join a yoga class which will help me with my depression and loneliness. I thought about it and decided to give it a try. Obviously, I had nothing to lose. I had all the time in the world, so why not try and see if I can make use of it in a way that would help me feel a little better about myself? I found a local yoga class that fit my schedule and attended my first session. The calming atmosphere and focus on mindfulness truly did help alleviate some of the negative emotions I had been experiencing. I was swooning over my yoga instructor as he was so hot. I was glad that my friend had recommended this to me. I had something to look forward to each day. More than yoga, I enjoyed the company of my instructor. After a few days, I saw that my instructor had noticed that I showed more interest in him than the poses that he was teaching. I always made excuses and asked him for guidance to see if I was doing it right, just so I could have him closer to me. He never once asked me to stop focusing on him, but rather even he was enjoying the attention that he was getting from me. This behavior made me realize that my feelings for my instructor were becoming more than just admiration for his looks. I knew I needed to reevaluate my intentions and focus on drawing a line. I knew that it would be better if this remains just a crush and nothing else. I was getting very attracted to my instructor as days went by. I liked how he gave me attention and the way he looked at me. I decided to let my instructor give me personal sessions at home, as he convinced me that I really could use the help and look my age. I was a bit conscious about the way I had been looking lately, and I really felt like I needed a makeover. This felt like a good start as I wanted to feel more confident in myself. Also, I agreed to the personal training sessions because I wanted to spend some time with my instructor alone. Maybe it would help me develop my crush on him and then set my boundaries with him so that I don't cross a line. Like you all know, life never goes as planned, and that's exactly what happened with me as well. The sessions were going fine. We were slowly getting more and more intimate. He would touch me at new places and see my reaction to if I was offended. We were enjoying our newfound attraction to each other. One of the sessions got so steamy and so awkward, and we kind of crossed a line. We were, as usual, doing the poses, and there was a new one that I was struggling with. My trainer was helping me get to it when suddenly we fell and his hands were on my boobs. It was obviously a little awkward, but I think I felt a squeeze on them before he let go of them. I smiled as it felt really good. I could feel the passion in his eyes, and I knew that he wanted more of it. I wasn't sure about it, so I just got up and brushed it under the rug. The next few sessions were uncomfortable, with him making more inappropriate touches in the guise of training me. I should have been getting agitated. I was enjoying his touches and ignoring that I was even catching up with them being unnecessary. In fact, I was actually starting to make excuses so that he could touch me more often. I guess even he was getting the idea that I was doing it on purpose. Slowly, our yoga sessions became less about yoga and more about where he would touch me next. I would actually look forward to him making a move so that I could reciprocate. I was liking this newfound adventure where someone was actually interested in me that way. It had been so long since I had sex with Carlos, so this was actually giving me butterflies. I couldn't deny the thrill of attraction, but I also knew that it was a dangerous thing to indulge in an affair. It had been more than a month since my instructor and I had crossed all boundaries and started having sex with each other. The touches slowly progressed to kisses and then full-blown make-out sessions, which then transformed into full-out sex. Obviously, I no longer missed Carlos not giving me enough time or not being intimate with me. I was getting all the action from my trainer. I was starting to feel guilty about the situation, knowing that it was wrong to be involved with my trainer in that way. Despite the physical satisfaction, I couldn't shake the feeling of moral discomfort. We were having our usual yoga session, with full-on moans and loud banging when Carlos walked in on us. We were both in a position that was so inappropriate that I could not even cover up that it's not what it looks like. On top of that, we were naked, so there was no way that there was any coming back from this. Carlos stood frozen in the doorway, his eyes wide with shock. I quickly scrambled to grab a nearby towel, but the damage was already done. I tried to explain that it was just a yoga session gone wrong, but the awkward tension in the room was palpable. Carlos eventually left without saying a word, leaving me to wonder how I could ever face him again. I quickly covered myself with the towel and ran behind Carlos. I did not know what I would do and how I would convince Carlos, but I knew that right now I had to go behind him and stop him from doing something that could be harmful to me. As I caught up to him, I grabbed his arm and pleaded for him to listen to me. His expression softened slightly, and I knew there was still a chance to explain myself before things escalated further. I took a deep breath and tried to explain the situation as calmly as possible, hoping he would understand my perspective. Carlos paused for a moment, his eyes searching mine for sincerity, before finally nodding in agreement. Carlos made me sit on the bed and asked me what was missing in my life that I had to resort to such things. He yelled at me that what was it that he was not providing me, that I felt the need to go and find someone else. He demanded that I answer him honestly, threatening to leave me if I didn't. His anger and frustration were palpable as he waited for my response, his eyes filled with disappointment and hurt. I tried to explain that it wasn't about him, but about my own insecurities and need for validation. Despite my attempts to reason with him, he refused to listen and continued to berate me for seeking attention elsewhere. I could see the pain in his eyes as he struggled to understand my perspective, but his pride and ego seemed to be getting in the way of a rational conversation. At that moment, I realized that our communication issues ran deeper than I had initially thought. I was crying and begging Carlos to set me free. He told me that he was only going to untie me once I told him how it all started and what made me do it. I told him that I was feeling very lonely, and when I joined the yoga classes, I got attracted to the yoga instructor. I was lonely, and the devil in my mind started playing tricks on me. I then started subtly hitting on my instructor, and he was reciprocating it. I was liking the attention that I had been getting, so I decided to take it another notch further. I then decided to start taking private classes at home so that I could see where this flirting would lead to. Slowly but surely, our flirts became more and more physical, and eventually led to sex. Carlos asked me how long had all this been going on. I told him that it had only been a couple of months for the private classes and us being intimate. He was obviously pissed that I had been having sex behind his back for 2 months and acting as if I was doing nothing wrong. I begged Carlos to untie me so that we could sit and talk. He told me that until he was convinced that I was not hiding anything from him, he would let me be tied and spill everything. I knew that there was no point in trying to cry and whine about it. I knew I had to come clean and explain everything honestly if I wanted any chance of resolving the situation. I told Carlos that I had been giving expensive things to my instructor to make sure that he was interested and hooked to me. He said that he already knew something was fishy when I started overspending on items that I usually never shopped for. They were all male products which obviously were not being gifted to him. He said that he wanted to catch me red-handed and see how I would try to cover it up. Carlos mentioned that he had noticed the pattern of expensive gifts and suspected that they were not intended for him. He expressed curiosity about how I would explain the situation when confronted. Carlos suspected that I was trying to impress my instructor with gifts, but he wanted to see how I would react when confronted. He suggested that I come clean and be honest about my intentions before things escalated further. Carlos said that since I had suddenly stopped whining about him not giving me enough time, he knew that there was something fishy going on. He started keeping a watch on me. Somebody's going to discover that I was busy and the reason why my whining had stopped. He did not want to confront me immediately and wanted to see how far I would go. He started keeping track of my whereabouts, what I was buying, who I was meeting, and I was going out to eat. For the past month, he thought of seeing that I was getting bolder and not even hesitating before thinking twice of getting caught. He also acted as if he had no clue what I was doing behind his back, so that I could be under the impression that everything was under control. Little did I know, he was gathering evidence to confront me with my actions. His silence was strategic, allowing me to dig myself deeper into trouble without realizing it. I was living in my own little bubble all this time. He angrily told me that he was very disappointed in me for not learning anything from him and thinking of him to be such a dumb person. He said that if I wanted to, at least I should have made sure that I covered my tracks so that I wouldn't be caught red-handed. He also mocked my standards and told me that I should have picked someone who could at least buy me gifts instead of mooching off me. He said that he had a list of people who he thought would be perfect for me to cheat on him, but all I picked was a yoga instructor. He said that it was a telling of my low standards in men. He then proceeded to break up with me, stating that he deserved someone who valued honesty and loyalty in a relationship. He also said that if it weren't for him, I would never have achieved all the attention that I was getting from people. He also made fun of my fashion choices and told me that the only reason that yoga instructor was interested in me was because I was spending money on him and buying him expensive gifts. Obviously, I felt hurt listening to all of it, but I also knew that somewhere he was right about what he was talking about. I was holding on to the instructor by spending money on him and buying him expensive gifts so that he wouldn't get bored and run away. I knew that I had no standing or no reason that I could come up with to get me out of this situation. Carlos then told me not to worry and that he had me covered. I looked at him skeptical, not knowing what I should make of this statement. He told me that obviously he wasn't that dumb, so he made sure to gather proof about everything that I had been doing behind his back, so that it would be easy for him to kick me out of his life, making sure that I don't get even a single penny from him. That was a bit hesitant, and also scared, as I did not want to see what he had come up with and what all he had gathered as proof. I quickly realized that I had underestimated his intelligence and determination. It was clear that he had been planning this for some time, and I knew I had to be prepared for whatever evidence he had against me. He asked me to take her seat and look at my actions, and also give him a running commentary of what I was thinking at that time. Then I was doing certain things that would be played on the video. I was not expecting this at all, but I did take a seat since I knew I had no other choice but to trust and agree to everything he was saying and followed his instructions, and I thought maybe that way he would be a little less angry and not decide to kick me out. I tried my best to remain calm and composed, hoping that complying with his requests would help de-escalate the situation. I made a mental note to be more cautious in the future to avoid similar confrontations. I was about to sit on the sofa, but he said that he had a special seat for me. He dragged out a chair and asked me to take a seat. That was a chair used by our servants and was not very comfortable to sit on. I knew that he wanted to shame me as one of his servants, but I decided to let her go and not react to it. He started playing a bunch of videos of me getting into restaurants, shopping malls, salons, and boutiques with the yoga instructor, carrying loads and loads of bags. People started each video and asked me to explain what I was feeling and what I did before and after that. He asked me questions like, was I having sex before or after I took him out to buy him stuff? Obviously, I did not want to answer that. Nobody wants to answer such questions. He yelled at me, but I did not answer it on the first go, so I knew that this would be the pattern with every video that he was going to show me. I had no choice but to tell him what I was doing and when I was doing it. After sitting through 2 hours of videos, my patience had given up. I was about to ask him to stop, and you get the idea of what was happening, but he himself told me that this was all he needed to know. I was about to say something, but he got me off and told me that he did enjoy secretly filming me with another man because he wasn't expecting me to be that bold. He also said that he was very surprised by my nose that I only had sex in the house that belonged to him. He was expecting me to do fancy hotels, book a suite or a honeymoon package, but I never did that, and he was really surprised that I never was bold enough to take that step. I was taken aback by his admission and felt a mix of shock and curiosity about his motives. It made me question the dynamics of our relationship and whether I truly knew him at all. I told him that I was scared that someone would run into me if I went to a hotel with another man and let Carlos know about it, so I made sure that we had sex only at home, and that too during the yoga session, so that nobody else would doubt what was happening. Anyway, he told me that he had a lot of evidence already and knew that there was no place in his life for me anymore. He said that he had already sent the videos to my friends and family for them to enjoy. He said that I did not have to worry about going to my friends or family for help, as they already knew how low I had fallen, and they would never take me back in their lives. I started crying knowing that for once in my life I was doing something that made me happy, and this is how I was rewarded. I know that what I did was wrong, but I had no choice. If my husband would give me enough time and attention, I would not have made the choice of cheating on him. I screamed at Carlos that he had no right to play with my personal life. If he had an issue, then he should have taken it up with me. Why involve my friends and family in it? He said that he already knew what would make me angry and feel helpless. It was exactly what he imagined my reaction to be. He was happy to see that I was being helpless, as that is what I should be getting for screwing over with him. I was devastated knowing the fact that my friends and family would see all the sex videos that Carlos had been filming over the past 1 month and judge me for the person I had become. I knew that after all this, I had nowhere to go, and the wisest thing would be to apologize to Carlos and try to mend my relationship. I told Carlos that I was really sorry and I would do anything to win his forgiveness. He said that he was very angry and disappointed, and even unsure if he would be willing to forgive me. He then untied me and told me that he wanted me to leave the house as soon as possible. I told him to reconsider it as I don't know where I would go. Carlos looked at me angrily and asked if I took him for a joke or a pushover. I did not know where to go or what to do, and that was really not his problem. He asked me to go and ask my instructor for help, since I had been so busy with him all this time. He was very confident that he would not be willing to help me. I knew that the way he ran away once we were caught, that he would want nothing to do with me now. I pleaded with Carlos to think about all these years that I had been faithful to him and give me another chance. He laughed and said that I was only faithful because he kept showering me with expensive gifts and comforts that I could not say no to. I felt like his mistress and not his wife when he put it that way. I begged him for another chance, but he asked me if I would be going out on my own or that I needed help to be escorted out. I did not need any more humiliation, so I decided to walk out myself. As I started walking, I started thinking how one stupid advice from a friend led to such a disastrous turn in my life. If only I had not taken the advice given to me so seriously, or maybe if I would have been more careful with my affair. All these what-ifs kept running in my mind, causing a lot of chaos. There was no way I could think straight, as I had no idea what I should do and where I should go. I realized that I had no money on me or even a place to go to. I just sat on a park bench thinking about how life had taken a complete 360. I sat there and started writing this post just to occupy myself for some time and get clarity of what I should be doing next. As I reflected on my situation, I knew that I needed to admit that all this mess was created by me, and I was the one who would have to live with it. Thank you all so much for showing so much love to me and staying by my side in such a tough time. I know that what I did was wrong, and I was even punished for it, maybe more than I deserved. What I would like to say is be faithful, And if you can't due to whatever reasons, make sure to keep it a secret from your husband so that you don't end up like me. On a serious note, just don't cheat, guys. Try to make it work. Take some time off of each other if it's getting too much, and then reconnect and see if things get better. All the best to everyone trying to make their relationships better.